Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I'm going to share with you my very extensive middle grade March TBR. All right, so in case you don't know, Middle Grade March is a readathon that I am co-hosting this year with Krista from Books and Jams and Katie at Life Between Words. It is a month-long readathon in which we just want to encourage everyone to read middle grade books. So you can read all middle grade through the month of March. You can read one middle grade book in the month of March. Either way, you're still participating in middle grade March. We just want to spread the love for middle grade this month. And so in order to do that, we have come up with 5 different challenges and a group book. We have multiple live events happening as part of middle grade March, and I will have details about all of that down below in the description box. Also, we have contacted all of the winners of our giveaway. We're hosting a giveaway for our group book to win a copy of our group book. And so make sure you check your notifications, check your messages, because everybody who has won those giveaways has been contacted and we need your addresses. So if you have not provided that to us yet, make sure that you get with either Katie, Krista, or I and let us know what your address is so we can ship you your book. All right, so like I said, we have 5 different challenges and a group book. My TBR, the way that I'm going to approach it this year, I've done different things in the past. This year, I have selected books that fill all of the challenges, and then I also have a stack of books that are just middle grade books that I really want to read that are just kind of extra. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up this side of my TBR cart. I have books on the other side, but this side of my TBR cart is going to be reserved just for middle grade March. And my plan is just to mood read through the month. Other than the group book, I'm going to be reading the group book. But outside of that, I'm just going to select from this cart throughout the month. And what I get to, and what I don't, I don't. That way I'm not feeling pressure to like rush through a bunch of books, but at the same time, I have a selection here that I'm really excited about. And so that's what I want to share with you today. So as I start talking about these books, I'll start filling up my cart and you're going to get to see all of the really exciting books that I have selected to read. So the first book I'm putting on my cart is The Brave by James Byrd. This is our group book. So this is the one book that is 100% guaranteed to get read this month. And this is about a boy who is half Ojibwe. And he has what seems to be some sort of OCD. He has a condition where he will count the number of letters in all of the words that you speak to him and add them all together and say that number before he responds to you. It's very unique. And so he has this condition that just makes school a little hard for him. And so his dad decides to send him to live with his mother, who lives on an Ojibwe reservation in Minnesota. And so he goes to live with her there. And while he is there, he befriends a girl, I believe her name is Orenda. And she, I believe, has a terminal illness, and it's about their friendship and his life on the reservation, and it sounds fantastic. Very, very excited to read this. So this is my number 1 priority for the month. Another priority for the month, we'll see how this goes, but this is the book that I'm going to be reading aloud with my kids this month. We are finishing up our current read aloud tonight, the day I'm filming this. And so we will be starting this book and carrying this over into March. We'll probably actually read this and another book in March, but I haven't decided what we're going to read after this yet. I just know that this is what we're going to be reading. And that is The Wolf Keepers by Elise Broach. This was a cover buy that I bought off of Book Outlet a while ago, and it is actually a historical mystery that surrounds the mystery of John Moore. I looked up how to say his last name. Muirs? I think that's how you say it. He's a famous naturalist, and it surrounds his lost cabin in Yosemite National Park. And so this follows 12-year-old Lizzie Durango, whose father is the head zookeeper at a California wildlife park. And so she's grown up in the zoo like her whole life. And one day when she's roaming the zoo grounds, she bumps into Tyler Briggs, who's a runaway who's been hiding out at the zoo. And he starts telling her about some weird things that have been going on in the zoo, and it involves dying wolves, a cursed canyon, and the legend of John Muir's lost cabin. And so they end up getting into Yosemite National Park, and it has to do with this big mystery. So I think this will be a ton of fun to read with my kids. I'm really excited to read that. All right, so now let's get into some of the challenges, some of the books that I have set for the challenges. I'm going to start with the challenge that I have the least amount of books that fit this challenge, and that is to read a book published in the decade that you were born. So I have 3 books here that I am planning on reading for this challenge. My number 1 priority for this challenge is the BFG by Roald Dahl. I've never read the BFG. I've read Matilda, I've read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I've read a couple of the other smaller ones, but I've never read the BFG. And I know that this is a very well-loved Roald Dahl book. And all I know is it is about a big friendly giant and a girl Sophie, who befriends him, I think. But this was written in the 80s, and I'm an 80s baby. So that is the one that I want to read for that. And then my other 2 that I'm putting on my cart that will be kind of on my list of possibilities. The first is one of the Newbery winners from the 1980s, and that is Dear Mr. Henshaw by Beverly Cleary. This is a book that is written in letters, I believe. Yes, it is written in letters, and I remember reading this in school when I was younger, but I don't really remember what it's about at all. All I know is that it's epistolary, it's very short, and it's a Newbery winner. So that is on the list. Another one that was written in the 80s that I would love to get to is The Indian in the Cupboard. I might actually end up reading this one aloud to my kids because I know that there's a movie adaptation of this, and I think that it might be fun for them. And so this is another one that was written in the 80s. I don't know. I probably should have said. Okay, so this one was published in 1980. This one was published in, 1983. And this one was published in, not that you guys care, but I think it's interesting. This one was published in 1982. So these are the 3 books that fill the prompt to read a book I keep saying that, published in the 1980s. All right, next, we're going to go on to a retelling. So this can be a retelling. It can be a book with fairy tale elements in it. All of the books that I have here are retellings. Some of them are fairy tale retellings. Actually, all of them except one are fairy tale retellings. And 2 of them are actually books that I mentioned in my recommendations video. I have not actually read these books yet, but they sounded so good I wanted to recommend them. And then I ended up putting them on my own TBR. The first of which is The 12 by Cindy Lin. This is a book that is about the Chinese zodiac. So it's about these kids, and depending on what year you were born in, you get powers from that Chinese zodiac animal. And so that's all I really know about it, but it just sounded like a really interesting concept. And actually my kids are also interested in reading this. So that might be a fun one. I have to be strategic about where I place things on here. Another one that I mentioned in my recommendations video that I haven't read yet, but I'm super interested in, this is probably one of the ones that's pretty high up on a priority for me, is The Real Boy by Anne Ursu. I've read one other book by Anne Ursu, and I enjoyed it. This is a Pinocchio retelling, and I just think that that's so fun. So other than that, I don't really know a whole lot about it. On an island on the edge of the immense sea, there's a city, a forest, and a boy. The city's called Asteri, a perfect city, saved by the magic woven into its walls when a devastating plague swept through the world years before. I don't know. All I know is that it is a Pinocchio retelling, and it just looks really fun. All right. And then I also have The Cottage in the Woods by Catherine Colville. This is one that I picked up like at a library sale, and Anne from Elizabeth Ann Reads had recommended this book to me, and she said that it's like a cross of Jane Austen and like fairy tales. So it's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears sort of thing. But I don't know. It sounded very interesting. So I added that one. I'm going to start putting things down here too, because we're going to have to start filling this card up. All right. One that I recently picked up from a thrift store is Flunked by Jen Calonita. I don't know. This says a fairy tale reform school, or fairy tale reform school flunked. And it follows Jilly. She said she wouldn't call herself wicked exactly, but when you have 5 little brothers and sisters and live in a rundown boot, you have to get creative to make ends meet. So she's a thief, and then she gets caught and she gets sent to 3 months. She gets sentenced to 3 months at Fairy Tale Reform School, where all of the teachers are former super scary villains like the big bad wolf, the evil queen, and Cinderella's wicked stepmother. And then she meets a couple other students. She learns that everything's not really what it seems. There's a battle brewing, and Jilly has to wonder just how good these bad guys are. So that just sounded fun. So that one went on the list. And then the last one I have in this category is one that was highly recommended by Krista, and that is Rump by Liesl Shirtliff. This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and that's all I know about it. But she loves this book. She sings its praises highly, so that one goes on the list as well. All right, next, let's do journey or adventure. So I have a number of books here that fit the journey or adventure category. The first of which is Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin. This is a Newbery Honor book that many people have raved about, have loved. It, I believe, follows some like Chinese folklore. It's just an absolutely beautiful book. There's like color aspects in the chapter headings, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So I'm very excited to read this. I've heard really good things about it. I also have The Someday Birds. This, though, as far as like the adventure journey part of it, it is about a girl who goes on a quest. I know that, so I forgot to mention that. All right, so next we have The Someday Birds by Sally J. Pla, and this has to do with Charlie, whose father was injured in Afghanistan, I believe. Yeah, he was a war journalist who was injured in Afghanistan, and he is on a road trip from California to Virginia, with maybe his grandparents. It says he is reluctantly travels cross-country with his boy-crazy sister, unruly brothers, and mysterious new family friend. So his father has to go for medical treatment from California to Virginia, and that's all I know. So that one sounded fun. One that I've had my eye on for a while, because I read The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise last year during middle grade March. I've been interested in picking something else up by that author, Dan Gemeinhart, and so I ended up grabbing from the library The Honest Truth. This is about a little boy who is terminally ill, and so it says it's never too late for the adventure of a lifetime. In all the ways that matter, Mark is a normal kid. He's got a dog, a best friend. He likes to take photos and write haiku poems in his notebook. But in one important way, Mark is not like other kids. He's sick. With the kind of sick that means hospitals and treatments. The kind of sick some people never get better from. So he runs away. He leaves home with his camera, his notebook, his dog, and a plan to reach the top of Mount Rainier, even if it's the last thing he ever does. So that just sounds amazing and heartbreaking all in the same thing. And then the last one that I have for this prompt that I'm super excited to read is The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone by Jacqueline Moriarty. This is one that I initially heard about from Lexi at Alexander Roslin is the name of her YouTube channel. But it is about Bronte Meadowstone, whose parents die. And then she basically gets their very detailed will, in which she has to travel the kingdoms perfectly alone, delivering gifts to 10 of her aunts. A farmer aunt, a veterinarian, a pair of aunts who captain a cruise ship, a former rock star. And so it's just like a magical, like, adventure journey that sounds just so much fun. Very, very excited to read that. Those are my journey books. All right. Oh, wait. And then I have one more I forgot to mention. I do have a couple of books that I don't actually have here with me right now, either because they're on hold at the library and I'm hoping that I get them, or my library doesn't have them. And so I'm hoping to get them in some other way, whether it's on Scribd or I order them or whatever. But one that I have for this prompt that kind of fits into that category, I'm hoping to be able to either listen to it or read it on Scribd, is Orion Lost. I cannot remember the name of the author for this one, but this is a sci-fi that Jade from JD Ray Reads raved about this past year, and it just sounds fun. I have not read sci-fi in a long time, and I think a middle grade sci-fi would just be a blast. And so this is about some kids that kind of get stranded on a spaceship out in space, and they have to figure out how to get the spaceship back, I believe. So that one sounded fun. All right, let's move on to family. So for the family prompt, I have, the first one that I have is So Be It by Sarah Weeks. This is about a girl who lives with her mother who is mentally disabled. And so that just sounds really interesting. Not something I've ever read before. Another one that I got in a book outlet haul that just sounded really cute is Dear Sister by Allison McGee, and it's illustrated by Joe Blum. And this is one that's like very, very heavily illustrated. But it basically is just this kid's letters to his sister. His parents won't let them tell her or write to her what he really thinks or say it out loud, and so he just starts writing her all these letters, and so it just sounds very endearing and very fun. One that was recommended to me a ton after I read Horton's Miraculous Mechanisms last month, the month before, was The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place by by Mary Rose Wood. This is about some kids, or it follows a governess, I think, who goes to this estate not realizing that she's taking care of these kids that were basically raised by wolves, I think. So that one sounded like a blast for the family prompt. Okay, so when I say the family prompt, I'm just realizing now, I don't think I really explained what the prompt was. The prompt is to read a book that has a strong family element to it. I don't think I even said that. My brain is like scattered today, guys. I'm a mess. All right, so those are the ones I'm reading for that. And then I have two more here. I have The House That Lou Built by May Respicio. This is about a Filipino girl, I believe, who lives in San Francisco with a big extended family, and she decides she's taking woodshop class at school, and she decides she wants to build a tiny house for just her mom and herself so that they can get some privacy. And I think that just sounds amazing. All right, and then the last one I have for this prompt is A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. I have heard amazing things about this book, but it's about three sisters trapped by an ancient curse, three magical objects with the power to change their fate. Will they be enough to break the curse, or will they lead the sisters even deeper into danger? So it follows these three sisters. So I thought that would fit this prompt really well. And this cover is just, it's so pretty. And I think that's a first in a series as well, if I'm not mistaken. All right, another one that I want to read for this that I have on hold at the library that was one of my most anticipated releases for this year is A Place to Hang the Moon. Once again, I did not write down the authors' names of these books that I don't have with me, and I apologize for that. But I will obviously put the cover up, and you can see there. But A Place to Hang the Moon is a World War II story about these siblings that they escape London. They go to live out in the country, and they end up living, I believe, in an old library with this woman. And I think her husband was German. And so it's just kind of very dicey, but it sounded really good. So that's another one that I would love to read that has a very strong family element. All right, let's move on to the next prompt. The next prompt is to read a book with a silhouette on the cover. So the first one that I have that fits this, that I'm very excited to read, is The Benefits of Being an Octopus by Anne Braden. This one just says, some people can do their homework. Some people get to have crushes on boys. Some people have other things they've got to do. 7th grader Zoe has her hands full as she takes care of her much younger siblings after school every day while her mom works her shift at the pizza parlor. Not that her mom seems to appreciate it. At least there's Lenny, her mom's boyfriend. They all get to live in his nice, clean trailer. And so it's basically about her life at school and how her teachers kind of are encouraging her to get involved in more things that are going to benefit her so that she can still be a kid. And so that sounded really, really good. I've had that one on my TBR for a really long time. Another one that was brought to my attention by Katie at Life Between Words is Two Roads by Joseph Bruchac, I think is how you pronounce the last name. And this has to do, it's set in 1932, and it follows 12-year-old Cal Black and his dad, who've been riding the rails after losing their farm in the Great Depression. And then his dad needs to go to Washington, D.C., and Cal can't go with him. So his dad tells him that he is a Creek Indian and sends him to the Chalagi Indian School, a government boarding school for Native Americans in Oklahoma. And so that's what it's about. But that sounded heartbreaking and amazing all at the same time. All right, another one that has been, the praises have been sung by Krista and Katie both, is A Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. This is about a deaf girl who is trying to help this whale who I think can't communicate with his pod because he's like on a different frequency than the rest of his pod. And so it's just about them. This cover is just another one that's so pretty. But yeah, so I have been wanting to read that for a while. That has a silhouette on the cover. And then two that I just have on my shelves that I have been wanting to get to for a while and haven't yet. The first is Ruby on the Outside by Nora Raleigh Baskin. This is about 11-year-old Ruby Daines, who is about to start middle school, and no one knows her deepest, darkest secret, that her mother is in prison. And then another girl moves into her condo complex, and the two hit it off, and she thinks she's found her first true friend, and she's trying to decide if she can tell her the truth. And it's when her friend's family history seems to tie in too closely to the very event that put her mother in prison, Ruby fears she may lose everything. So I've been wanting to read that for a while. I've had that one. And then another one that I just love the cover is Where I'd Like to Be by Frances O'Rourke Dowell. This has to do with foster care, I believe. It says a ghost saved 12-year-old Maddie's life when she was an infant, her Granny Lane claims. And so she has a book of houses in which she glues pictures of places she'd like to live. Then one day, a new girl shows up at the East Tennessee Children's Home, armed with tales about exotic travels, being able to fly, and boys who recite poetry to wild horses. When she offers Maddie something she's never had before, Maddie begins to wonder if she's been thinking about home in entirely the wrong way, and if she might not be so special after all. Like, that just sounds amazing. All right. So those are all of the challenges. We have the year or the decade I was born in. We have strong family elements. We have the silhouette on the cover. We have retellings, and we have the journey or adventure stories. So the rest of these are just books that I would like to read because I have too much. The first two are books that are on my 2021 TBR, the first of which is Before We Were Free by Julia Alvarez. This is set in the Dominican Republic in the 1960s, and it has to do with Trujillo's dictatorship down there. So that's one. Another one that is on my 2021 TBR that I would like to read is Echo's Sister by Paul Mosier. This one has to do with 12-year-old Elle, who her sister comes down with a terminal illness, and it's basically about her life being a sister to someone with terminal illness. Let's see, where can we put this one? We'll put this one down here too. All right. Another one that's on my 2021 TBR is Rooftoppers by Catherine Rundell. And actually, I really want to read Catherine Rundell. I currently have 4 books by Catherine Rundell, and I've never read any of them. So I actually am putting them all on the cart, hoping to read at least 1 or 2 of them in March. So I have Rooftoppers, I have the Wolf Wilder, I have The Explorer, and I have Cartwheeling in Thunderstorms. These are all by her. Like I said, I've never read her. Rooftoppers is set in Paris, and it has to do with somebody who like lives on the rooftops there. Wolf Wilder, I believe, is set in Russia and has to do with wolves that are domesticated in Russia. The Explorers is like an exploration, not an exploration. The Explorers, let's see, there's like a plane, I think, that goes down in the Amazon, and it's something about that. And then Cartwheeling in Thunderstorms is about a girl she was raised in Africa on a farm, and then she goes to live in a boarding school in England. So those are those 4 books, and I would, like I said, I would like to read at least 1 or 2 of them in March. All right there. So that is one of my plans. Also, I thought it'd be fun to put on this cart all of the Newbery Honor Books and the Newbery Winner from this year on the cart, so that I can read as many of them as possible. I have only read one of them. I've read Fighting Words by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. That won a Newbery Honor this year. That's the only one I've read so far. And so I wanted to read more of them and the Newbery Winner. I don't have the Newbery Winner yet. I am on hold, and I think I'm going to be able to get it before March ends. So I'm crossing my fingers for that. But that is When You Trap a Tiger. Once again, don't remember the author's name. But I'll put it up. And I'm hoping to get to that. That is a Korean, I believe, like folklore, not retelling necessarily, but it has to do with Korean folklore. So the other ones that I have here that I would like to read are A Wish in the Dark by Christina Soontorvat. This is some sort of fantasy. It says a boy on the run and a girl determined to find him. I have no idea what this is about at all. There's a prison warden's daughter and somebody who has escaped from the prison, and so something about that. No clue. All right, I also have We Dream of Space by Erin and Trada Kelly. This has to do with, or it's set during the time of the Challenger, when the Challenger crashed, exploded. Yeah, and it has to do, I think, with 3 different kids, or siblings, it looks like. Yeah, in Park, Delaware. But that's all I really know, is that it has to do with the Challenger and these 3 siblings. All right. And then the last one that I have here is actually a nonfiction book, and that is All 13, The Incredible Cave Rescue of the Thai Boys Soccer Team. This is also by Christina Soontorvat. She like hit the jackpot this year. She ended up with 2 Newbery Honor books. 1 nonfiction, 1 fiction, and this has to do with the rescue of the Thai boys soccer team in 2018, I believe. Yeah, June 2018. But there's lots of pictures, and it just documents all of it, and I've heard really, really, really good things about this, so I am excited. I'm going to set this over here. I'm excited to read that one. All right. And then this last stack of books are just books that I want to read. They don't really, oh wait, I do have one. They don't really have any rhyme or reason to them. They're just books that have struck my fancy in some way or another, and I really want to read them. So the first one is actually Kate from Kate Howe and a multitude of other people. I believe Mary from Happily Ever Esh is in with the group, and some more people, but they are hosting a read-along of Miracles on Maple Hill by Virginia Sorensen. This is a Newbery winner. It won the Newbery in, let's see, (1956). And they're hosting a read-along of this, and they're going to do like a Zoom chat, I believe, about it. I have no idea what this is about at all, but I thought I'd grab it and hopefully participate in that read-along. Okay, and then most of these I own, and they're just off my shelves, books I want to read, except for this one that just like struck my fancy at the library. It was a cover, like pickup. The cover looked cute. And it's One Time by Sharon Creech. Like, look at this. It's just so pretty. And it says, Gina Philomena has been told she has an overactive imagination. With her bright clothing and artistic spirit, she's always felt different from the other kids in her class. That is until she meets her new neighbor, a mysterious boy named Antonio with a wide, welcoming smile. Add in a creative new teacher, Miss Lightstone, and a world of possibilities opens up for Gina, Antonio, and their classmates. So, yeah, and it says, with the help of Miss Lightstone, Antonio and Miss Lightstone, will Gina find the answers to the questions, who am I and who do I want to be? That just sounded so fun. So that's going on the list because, you know. All right. One that I recently hauled is Lucky Broken Girl by Ruth Behar. This follows Ruthie Mizrahi, who moves with her family from Cuba to New York. And then she's like finally getting the hang of things, finally mastering English. And then she is in a car accident and she ends up in a body cast. And so it's all about all these people that come to visit her while she's in the body cast. I don't know. That seems very unique to me. And so, yeah, that one went on the list. Another one that I hauled that I have never heard of before, but just sounded fun, is Short by Holly Goldberg Sloan. I read Counting Sevens by her last year, or Counting by Sevens by her last year, and loved it. And so I really want to read something else by her. And this follows Julia Marks, who's always been small. And so when her mom makes her try out for the local theater production of The Wizard of Oz, she's no surprise that she's cast as a munchkin, and she doesn't really want to deal with it. But Olive, one of the adults with dwarfism in the play, and Mrs. Chang, a neighbor with some surprising hidden talents, help her realize that it's not like about what she looks like, it's about what she can bring to the table. And like, I just think it's going to be fun. All right. One by an author that I read last year, that actually was the author of one of my favorite books last year. I bought another book by her and never read it. This is The Secret Hum of a Daisy by Tracy Holzer. She wrote Everything Else in the Universe, which I read and was obsessed with last year. And this has to do with a girl whose mother and her just travel from place to place to place, but she wants to sit down, like to settle down, and her mom get in this big fight, and then her mom dies. And it's kind of has to do with that. But I really want to read this, mostly because I loved Everything Else in the Universe so much. And I'm going to have to rearrange. Hardback books are hard to get into these carts. So yeah. Anyway, I just want to read it. I found this at the thrift store. It's Boy by Roald Dahl. This one actually might have been published in the 80s. Yeah, 1984. So this could go into that stack. But this is a nonfiction book. It is Boy, Tales of Childhood, and it says, where did he get his wonderful ideas for stories? From his own life, of course. Full of excitement and the unexpected as his world famous... as full of excitement and the unexpected as his world famous and best-selling books, Roald Dahl's tales of his own childhood are completely fascinating and fiendishly funny. Did you know that he nearly lost his nose in a car accident, or that he was once a chocolate candy tester for Cadbury's? Have you heard about his involvement in the Great Mouse Plot of 1924? If not, you don't know all there is to know about Roald Dahl. Like, that just sounds so fun. I'm putting that with my other books that were written in the 1980s because that sounds amazing. All right. Another one that I have that I just really want to read because it sounds amazing is The Unsung Hero of Birdsong USA by Brenda Woods. This is set after World War II. It's about a World War II, one of the all-black battalions in World War II, one of the veterans of that battalion, and I believe a white boy in the South somewhere. I don't know where in the South. So it in Birdsong USA, but it says a small southern town. But it's this little white boy, and then this veteran saves him from like getting hit by a car on his bicycle or something like that. And so the boy ends up getting the guy a job at his dad's like auto shop or something. I don't know. And they form a friendship. It sounds amazing. I really want to read it. All right. Another one by an author that I love, never heard of the book though, is The Lacemaker and the Princess by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This is set during the time of Marie Antoinette. That's all I know. It's by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. I must read it. That goes on the list. All right. Another one that I got because it just sounds so good is The Magic in Changing Your Stars by Leah Henderson. This is kind of like a Wizard of Oz retelling. I think it might technically actually be a retelling, but it follows Ailey Benjamin Lane, who is a gifted dancer, and then when he goes to try out for his school's production of The Wiz, he doesn't do so good, and then his grandfather tells him that he actually gave up dancing as well when he was younger, and he kept a pair of very special shoes. And so Ailey puts the shoes on and is transported to somewhere that is definitely no place like home. But the thing I like about this is all of the characters' names and places in here are references to prominent Black people that were involved in the arts. And I just think that that's amazing. So I want to read this and see how that goes. And then the last one I have on my pile here is actually a book that was sent to me by the author. And so I would really like to read Simone Lefray and the Chocolatier's Ball. This is a really short, I think, adventure story set in France. And it has to do, it says, with as a covert agent, Simone walks in the footprints of her spy mother, darting between the shadows. She's not sleuthing, she's icing eclairs and dusting pastries in her father's patisserie. And then there's like a thief in Paris and she has to like go to a ball. I don't know, but it sounds really cute and it's really short. And so I would really like to read this one as well. And the cover is just so cute. All right, where does this one gonna go? I think we're gonna have to rearrange again. All right, this is my cart. This is what I have to work with for middle grade March. Whew, you guys, it is going to be an amazing reading month. I am so excited for what's here, the possibilities. Like, it's just going to be, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. So I hope that, like, you got some inspiration here. If you're going to be participating in middle grade March, let me know down below, like, what is your most anticipated read for middle grade March? I am so excited to just be involved in it so much this year and to get to know you guys through middle grade March. And make sure that you're using the hashtag middle grade March whenever you post a video or post anything on Instagram or social media at all. And yeah, it's just going to be so much fun. Like I said, I will include all of the information about our lives and all of that down below in the description box, so check that out so you don't miss out on any of that. And that's going to do it for today. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.